What's going on? Welcome back to the Knife Box channel, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the Midgard Misser small or little Viking.
Not death by the sword means I shall drink in Valhalla with the great warriors.
You don't believe in this Valhalla nonsense, do you?
Go away.
Fine. Just checking.
So this knife is pretty interesting. This is going to be the last of the Jiro collection, the Jiro provided collection, and I'm really glad this one was sent out to me. So big shout out to Jiro. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Also, can't forget to thank my good buddy Dirk for also bringing the spotlight of these along to me, as I had never seen one of these before until Dirk kind of showed me one of these a little while ago. And they're quite interesting, actually. Being that I've owned a few Praetorians from Medford Knife and Tool, this just kind of had that same vibe going right there as a Praetorian. So I was kind of interested to see what it was. The size kind of is in that Praetorian Genesis size, I guess you could say, which was my sweet spot for that knife. But there's a lot of really nice work on this knife. A lot of really cool design cues, and spoiler alert, there's just a couple things they missed on this one. So I'm just gonna gonna go through and whatever, and just go over my thoughts on the small or little Viking, I guess you could say. Now this knife is based on the larger version of the large or standard Viking, which came with some blue anodized hardware and clip that matched. It looked really quite cool, but the little Viking did not have the same color treatment. This one was kept a little bit more sterile in design, but overall it looks kind of like a shrunk down version. Now all the specs of this knife are not quite exactly from the original larger 4 and some odd inch version to this one. It's not exactly the same thickness and length. It is not an exact scaled down version is what I'm trying to say. This one is still relatively pretty thick and retaining the same amount of blade stock thickness, so it's kind of interesting, but you know, something that I probably would have preferred would have been maybe something with a little bit thinner blade stock. So let's get some measurements on this guy just so we know what we're talking about here. So I just brought out a standard ruler, overall length, as you guys saw in the video. I did put down most of the specs there for you guys, but just so you guys can actually get a visual. There you have it. Now as far as the blade, we have about a 3-inch blade here, roughly. But what makes this cool is this Tonto profile. So as far as the cutting edge, you can see you got about 2 3/4 of a cutting edge here, but then when you take the knife and you measure the tip, you get easily about another inch of cutting edge. So technically here we have 3.75 inch cutting edge. So kind of cool. It's just one of the aesthetic or design cues of this knife. Again, with this little point right here, those are always great to just kind of grab and drag during through material very easily, especially with the weight of this blade and this knife. And you even have all the ergonomics to just really bear down and push down on this thing. So this thing is very comfortable to hold and to use as a cutting tool, in my opinion. If I was to actually use it that way, I think it really would be quite comfortable.
I don't think it'd be so bad if we knew what you were saying.
As far as the blade thickness though, geez, man, what a swedge, right? Like this is more of something that is more like an axe type profile, and a little bit on the thick side for me. But it is ground flat right here. You got your typical saber grind with a fuller integrated, and this is advertised as a two-handed opening knife. I'm assuming to appease the European knife laws. So technically, this is how you open this guy up, and you can close it one-handed. As far as us, you know, knife guys always figure out a way to put our finger just to break the detent on the knife, and with a little bit of wrist flick, out it comes. It's kind of a careful procedure because the action's pretty smooth on this guy, and there's a lot of weight going forward, so you kind of don't really feel like slamming on the stop pin on this guy. So there's kind of like a little gentle balance when you're opening this guy up. So opening and closing is fun on this guy. I do like that. Compared to like a Medford knife, I can tell you right now, this is much nicer made, even though it's made overseas. Ooh, Greg's gonna hate that I said that.
I know! I've heard it all 1,000 times! Yeah!
Not that he watches my videos anyways. You can even see the pivot tolerances are just out of this world. So is it an original design? It's a bit Medfordy for me. I think this looks too much like a Praetorian in my taste, but it looks like a Praetorian, but it's actually almost quite better in the way that it's made. So I do like that aspect of it. It's definitely much more comfortable. The scales have been nicely contoured. I mean, everything, even the clip in the hand is still actually really comfortable. It's like a nice little pad. So no hot spots, surprisingly, very unlike a Medford. The relief cut is really nice. You got a nice thick lock bar here. Quite cool in the way that it's constructed. It's got that kind of a grenade pattern here, and then you can see their logo right here. And they make these knives in runs of 200, so there will be only 200 of these made, and then off to the secondary market you go. You can see some nice kind of reliefing here for access of the lock bar. Not that you need a lot of access, you got plenty there. Nice lockup, just nice chamfering, just nice all around. I mean, the comfort of this thing in the hand is quite good. I will say that. I'm extremely impressed. I love the hardware. If you're not going to have recessed screws, this is a really cool way to do it. I do like that. And then you got this pommel here, so if you're going to do reverse grip, I guess you got some grip on the back side. I'm not sure. It just looks cool, matches the knife quite well, so I do like that very, very much. So cool. Now, what is the bads of this knife? There are a few things that I'm not too excited about. So again, not a huge deal, but you know, and I have a few knives with thick blade stock, but I think this one, just being that it's ground so low, should have been a little bit thinner. If not, maybe a full flat grind all the way with just a bit of a deeper, fuller integrated into the blade. So that's number one for me. It's going to be a cutting tool, but it's not going to be a great cutting tool. Not something that's great in the lunchroom either.
Oh, well, that's much more sensible than just...
But kind of cool looking. It's not super threatening looking, yet it's a little on the big knife side that I probably wouldn't pull this out in the office. So there's that. So despite the size of the 3-inch blade, again, this is a big chunker and it's a little bit intimidating. All right, moving right along here. The other thing that is kind of a bad for me, and it's a love-hate thing. This clip, I love the way the clip looks. It looks outstanding. I like the way that the hardware was done. I like the cutout right here. I like the fact that it doesn't interfere with the lock bar, and it's just quite cool. It just doesn't work, guys. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And I'm not exaggerating. Let's go ahead and take a look right here. And as you can see, I'm just struggling to try to put this thing in the pocket. And guys, I'm really trying. I'm just wearing a pair of conventional shorts, cargo shorts, and just trying to, yeah, and then, you know, eventually I'm just gonna give up and just toss this thing in the pocket. So the carry sucks, guys. It doesn't carry well. I didn't even get a chance to really tell you how it carries because it never fit through my pocket, and I don't really feel like messing with this knife since I don't own it. If it was my knife, I would probably screw this clip on backwards and kind of bend it up to get a little bit more opening. I heard that the Red Wolf EDC channel did work something out where some guy in America is taking them in and milling a little cutout. I don't even know how that would work, guys, to be quite honest with you. Milling is not going to do anything. This thing has no spring, so you would have to not only mill, but you would have to bend it out, and you know, yeah, not good. First time I complain heavily on a pocket clip, but yep, doesn't work at all. The window, as far as the space between the pocket clip once you get it in there, is phenomenal. One of my really amazing ideas here would just have been maybe having like a stainless steel or ceramic bearing in there that it can kind of spin roll on, kind of like how Lamech cutlery does it. That might have alleviated the whole ordeal, and I can see how just cutting it out's not going to do much, because again, the way that it's sprung and it kind of arcs downwards, I don't know. I'm sure there's an exact science where you can get this clip to work, but not ideal. The price on these is excellent. From what I understand, these were about $300 to $350, somewhere around that neighborhood. So kind of cool, especially for a limited run knife. The blade steel is CPM D2. I guess I used to be more of a steel snob in the past, but I just don't care anymore. So CPM D2 is good to go for me. Just oil it if you're going to keep it in storage or in the mystery box that sees darkness forever. The handle is nicely constructed. You got the lanyard loop integrated there. You got just a little bit of hook to the back. And I think that the handle's designed so well because this guy is actually a custom fixed blade maker. So if you want a custom fixed blade made in Germany from him, he is a custom knife maker, but it's going to be a fixed blade. These were actually OEM through Concept Knives in China. So that's who makes these guys. So these are Chinese made knives. It does run on bearings. It's very smooth. But again, just a couple of Achilles heels faults to me. Last thing, guys, the detent. And the detent is kind of a love-hate thing, because with a nice soft detent, you can kind of easily overcome it with the fuller. That's just not really much of a fuller. But, you know, you can overcome it with your finger just enough to get the wrist flick out to open it one-handed. Maybe that's what the idea was behind it, but in all honesty, if it's advertised as a two-handed opening knife, just put a stronger detent on there just to make it safe. Just the fact that, you know, I could just do that with it. Ooh, that makes me cringe. Sorry, Jiro, didn't mean to slam him the stop pin for you, buddy. That being said, Jiro does have 2 of these. That doesn't mean I need to wreck his stop pin. But as I just demonstrated, oof, I hate it when knives can just do that. So let's do some size comparisons as I complain too much about this knife. Overall, I really like it, guys. It's a kind of a win for me in some respects. It's just, there's just a couple things, you know? So other than those things, it's actually quite fantastic and kind of cool. I never even knew that Concept Knives was an OEM. That being said, I'm assuming that these are running on ceramic bearing and detent as well. Could be stainless steel though for the price. So there it is, about 9.1 ounces, guys. Yes, this thing is a monster. All right, guys, let's get some size comparisons out of the way here. I just brought out some thick knives just for the hell of it. Here's an Emerson XHD HMMVK. Again, super thick knife right here. Not too much difference in the blade, just a little bit, but you can see quite a difference in the handle length. So that's that guy right there. In tribute to the big thick shorties, I thought I'd bring out my Gen 2 red blade knife. Oh my god, I can't talk today. Red Knife Blade Works Pig Gen 2. This guy's just a little bit on the thick side, but not quite as thick. Kind of a similar EDC size, maybe something more that I would go for if I was going for something like this. A Curtis Medium F3, a bit shorter actually in the overall length, but not by much. They're actually pretty similar in size, but the thickness, we're still way off. And this is still moderately kind of a thicker knife considering things. How about a Lion Steel KUR, kind of more comparable in the overall size and feel, like a medium size EDC, but here I have more of an over 3-inch blade, like more like 3.5, 3.4, 3.5. So with the contouring and still a bit of thickness, this still kind of feels like a big heavy pig in some respects. What the hell? Let's bring out a buck knife, right? Since we're bringing out thick knives, this is a buck 112. If I'm gonna bring something out kind of thick and comfortable and a good cutting tool, this actually is not a terrible idea, guys. I don't know. Oh man, I can't wait to read the comments about that one. Last but not least, the one that I thought was the most comparable in the overall length and size, kind of something that I guess is kind of in that same class or very similar, the Strider SNG, right? So if I'm gonna go for something of this length, there's other tools I probably would go to than to something just that ridiculous and that thick. Now, some people love this kind of stuff, you know, and it is still a good cutting tool, no doubt. But, you know, some people will buy it just because, even though it's not the best cutting tool, they love the novelty of it and the fun of it, of this big old thick tank right here, right? Me personally, I might just go for something like this, you know, if I'm gonna go out and just have something kind of on me, right? It's just not something that you can kind of show off at work as easily, just because of the big old chunkiness of it. Like slicing your apple at work is kind of, I would look funny, I guess, at very best. Where this kind of would make more sense, and I think people would look a little bit less your direction if you brought something like this. So I don't know, you know, I guess it just, in the end, everything's subjective, and these guys are a lot of fun. And it's not like I don't like these big overbuilt, like thick knives. They are quite fun and they hold a special place in my heart. So that is actually where this knife is done quite well. So let's talk a couple of faults with this guy. A couple of faults for me is just the pocket clip, guys. This pocket clip is terrible. It just doesn't work at all. Fault number 2 for me is the detent. The detent is just absolutely way too soft. Now the action is beautiful, and there is one good aspect of the light detent is just because it's so light, I can overcome it by pushing this fuller and just kind of wrist flick the rest of the knife. So you can still open it one-handed. But on the same side, you know, any knife that I can just, you know, just very, very, very lightly work the blade out, it's not ideal for me. So just kind of putting that out there. As far as the goods, the ergonomics are incredible. The machine work is excellent. The logos and stuff and the whole Viking name I think is kind of cool. The milling pattern is neat. The clip, there is things I like about it, and I like the way that it looks and stuff, but that's kind of one of the major fails. The lock bar was really well executed, and the overall chamfering on this knife is just beautiful. Now this knife is not made in Germany. This is a custom knife maker out of Germany, but he makes fixed blades. So if you want something custom from Midgard Misser, I believe the gentleman's name is Dirk, you're gonna have to contact Dirk and he can make you a fixed blade. These are actually made by Concept Knives out of China. So these are Chinese made. The price is very reasonable and kind of reflects that way. Think about like 350 bucks or something of that nature. They do ship from Germany. Dirk does kind of go through these, I believe, and finish them and clean them up and does the final go through like most other people do with their OEMs, and then sends them out. So that's my overall overview of the Little Viking, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me what you guys think about the Little Viking. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you guys all on the next one.